started. Hi all, my name's Tom Bakewell, and I'm the Executive Director for LFNC. And I'd like to welcome you to today's conference on behalf of the Lupus Foundation of Northern California. We're excited for this conference today for a lot of reasons. The content and also to showcase one of our sponsors and friends, Aurinia, for being so supportive of us over the years. But before I begin, I'd like to let you know a few things that LFSC has coming up. We've got another health conference this month on Saturday, July 27th. We're also excited about our 30th annual Outrun Lupus 5K on September 21st. To help celebrate this special anniversary, we've got the Mariachi Band from San Jose State University at the finish line, and we'll have a beautiful live butterfly release ceremony following our honorees' speech. You can sign up now and help us raise lupus awareness. You can find the link to register on our website, lfnc.org. To learn more about these and all of our upcoming events, be sure to follow our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and X. We got a packed schedule today, so I'm going to go over the agenda quickly, and then we're going to get started. The first session, we're welcoming lupus patient Emmitt Henderson III. In our second session, we'll be hearing from lupus patient Sitara Banasadar, who will be discussing healthy eating for lupus patients. Each of our sessions will end with a 15-minute Q&A. Remember, you can ask your questions at any time using the platform. We'll be gathering these questions and asking them after the appropriate presentation. You can also ask your questions anonymously by clicking on the anonymous button. Now, it is my pleasure to welcome Danny Martinez from Aurinia to introduce Emmitt. Danny?
Thanks, Tom, and good morning, everyone. My name again is Danny Martinez, and I'm the Strategic Alliance Manager with Aurinia, and we are proud to sponsor this program as we are very passionate about bringing awareness to a serious but common complications of lupus called lupus nephritis. Lupus nephritis occurs when lupus attacks the kidneys, and we hope by engaging in this conversation over the next hour or so, you will feel empowered to prioritize your kidney health by going to your doctor and keeping up with routine testing. Now I'd like to introduce your speaker for today, Emmitt Henderson III, who's a fighter, a true inspiration with an amazing story. Emmitt was diagnosed with lupus nephritis in 1995. He is currently the CEO of Male Lupus Warriors and co-owner of support group facilitator, the Lupus Dream Team. He is the board of directors of several organizations, including Gamma Phi Lupus Sorority, Colors of Lupus, Lupus Foundation of Southern California. He has also had a lot of achievements, including the 2020 Gibson Lupus Arc King, and is still the reigning king, and awarded for advocacy for bawling for Lupus Loves Foundation in 2023, and the Community Partnership from Inspire San Diego in 2022. And with that, you can take it away, Emmitt.
Thank you so much, Danny. I appreciate this opportunity with Lupus California and also Aurinia. Thank you guys so much for having me. That introduction, basically, Danny, I couldn't even do it any better. But, to give you guys all a feel of, my journey as a male with lupus, 29 years of going through it. I call it a blessing and a curse at the same time, because we know how debilitating lupus can be and lupus nephritis. My story goes back to 1980 of a young man having pains and also having symptoms of rash and fevers as a little kid running in elementary school. Nobody at that time basically knew what it was. When you're young and full of life, you at the same time, you don't pay too much of attention to what's going on, but the symptoms were there and I couldn't hide them at all. So going through the pain and everything I went through, when it was finally brought up to my parents, I went to the doctors, of course, and they could not find out what the rash was. The rash was all over my upper body and also my face. And we all kind of know today what that rash on my face pretty much is. It's the butterfly rash or the malar rash where most lupus patients have. Now, There wasn't anything that they could do at the time except treat it with some type of cream. And I got diagnosed with rash and fevers of unknown origin. It's basically they didn't know the source of it, but they knew that there was something there. I basically lived with it as far as I can. Fast forward going to 15 years later with still the rash and still fevers. And now I'm an adult living in the best part of my life. And I started having pains of my joints. One of the prominent symptoms of lupus is joint pains, and those really got to me really bad, where I couldn't even move my wrist, couldn't move parts of my knees at times, my shoulders. I couldn't use my joints the way I did. The biggest problem I had, though, was that how does a young 25-year-old man walk into the doctors and say, my joints hurt? That kind of didn't feel right for me as a young man to do that, but I had to get some type of medical treatment to see what was going on with it. And when I did, they called for x-rays. Unfortunately, nothing showed in the x-rays. There was no problems. There was no sprains, fractures, cracks, broken bones, nothing in my joints, specifically in my wrist that was giving me problems at the time. So I got dismissed and they told me to just go ahead and put ice on it, continue what you're doing, call us if it gets worse. Okay, no problem. Three incidences later of the same going to the hospital, different joints acting up and having problems, I was sent home every single time. Now, it got to a point where I didn't go anymore because I didn't want to lose time off work from leaving. I didn't want to hear nothing is wrong again when something was wrong. I was going crazy. I know I'm in pain, but why can't they find anything? 2 years goes by and I just let it go until that pain formed and focused more to my lower back. Now, there's no joint in my lower back that I thought that could bring any type of attention to. So I decided to go in and say, there's something going on. I can't stand up straight. The pain is very bad. Now, unfortunately, they were deciding, or for the best part of it, they decided to do more than just x-rays. They drew some blood. When they drew blood, now that opened up, and that's where my world turned upside down. That blood result, when the doctor came in, says, this is something we can't treat you here. You need to go to the hospital because I was only at a clinic for work. I went into the hospital. They had a bed ready for me. They put IV in me already, and they had stat of labs, cultures, of everything that they can do. Now, 3.5 months later of seeing all the specialists in the hospital, all the doctors doing every test that they can, a lady walks into the room. And at this point, I'm confused. I'm frustrated. I've been here so long. Mentally, I'm 100%. But from all the tests they were doing, I was worn down. A lady comes in and tells me that she has an idea of what could be wrong with me, that I have an illness that's rare for my age, rare for my ethnicity, and then also, rare for my gender. And I had no idea what she was talking about. And she said, you have a woman's disease called lupus. Now, let's back up to saying that again. You have a woman's disease called lupus. Wow. She told me I have a woman's disease. Now, remember, this is 1995. I could not get on my phone and Google what is lupus. I couldn't ask anybody in there what is lupus because even the nurses didn't have an idea. The lady told me that it was rare and she would do some follow-ups to confirm 100% that that's what it is. And a day or so later, she made the confirmation. I ended up getting sent home with over 30 medications because of everything that I was going through with the joint pains and what it affected and how in my blood what lupus was doing to me. They also told me that the pain I was having in my lower back was from my kidneys. I was in third stage kidney failure when I had went in and told me about lupus nephritis. So I said, so I have two diseases? And she said, you have two forms of lupus, which is affecting you right now. Systemic lupus, which is a lupus through my blood, and then lupus nephritis, which targets my kidneys. And because of that, a lot of the medications had to do with trying to maintain my kidneys. Now, over the years, I've had a lot of organ failures that came along with my lupus, from liver failure to lung disease to affections in my spleen. I had my gallbladder removed. And then I had a vascular necrosis, which was joint problems, where I ended up having a left shoulder replacement, a right knee replacement, and the hips and the opposite shoulder and knee are all affected, that they think in my lifetime I will have those replaced as well. So of course, I'm being very mindful on all the things that I do to avoid that. But this is something that lupus has done to me that I have to just be mindful in everything that I'm going through. So I also, one of the biggest failures I had was heart failure. The heart failure was something that was a really dark point in my life where my family was told I wasn't going to make it, and all this due to lupus. Now, I ended up recovering from the heart failure after 3.5 months in the hospital. After being in a coma for 3 weeks of that month, I ended up coming out, going into rehab to learn how to walk and talk all over again. And when I accomplished that part, my doctor knew that there was something that needed to be done, or my heart would not take another lupus flare the way that it did. I ended up finding that there was a clinical trial for me, specifically for lupus, to slow down the aggression of lupus that was invading my body all the time. The clinical trial basically saved my life. It endured me being in the hospital for about a month and a half for the procedure, but because of the qualifications of what I went through, I qualified for it, got it done. Everything I thought at that point was, going well for me until my kidneys finally failed. When my kidneys failed, then I was introduced to to having done dialysis, and saw that there were other options on how I can do my dialysis. Because I was, a busy person, I had a lot of things still going on. My focus was still trying to work when they told me I couldn't now. My focus was still running my household. So peritoneal dialysis was an option for me. In that option, I was able to do dialysis at home and plug into a machine 9 hours a night and cleaning out my system, keeping me going until I ended up getting a transplant. 14 months later, I was blessed with my little brother's kidney and having a kidney transplant after that. So now with the clinical trial, with the kidney transplant, I feel now I'm on top of the world. I feel that maybe lupus, unfortunately, will not do anything else to me, but lupus wasn't done. I was still having more problems after that. I ended up having a stroke. I ended up going through more skin lesions and a lot of fatigue, a lot of the brain fog, some of the other stuff that we go through with lupus, in addition to other autoimmune diseases, Sjogren's syndrome, rheumatoid arthritis, mixed connective tissue disease, um, pericarditis in my heart, all kinds of other things that came up after that. But then the one big thing that put another change in my life was diagnosed with a brain disease. Now, the brain disease, excuse me, is what ended my career. With that, they told me I could not continue work anymore because of the medication that they were giving me. So they retired me from work. I decided to keep myself busy since I can't focus on work anymore. That was the strength of my mental health. I ended up deciding to create an organization to talk about lupus from a man's perspective called Male Lupus Warriors. I talk about a man's perspective on what a man goes through, how a man maintains his mental health going through it, and how I can inspire people that lupus does not have to be a death sentence. And so with everything that I had went through, kicked off Male Lupus Warriors, that was going well for me. I had a chance to do advocacy in Africa, and I got a chance to climb Mount Kilimanjaro at the end of the month stay. When I got down from them, or when I got up the mountain, unfortunately, I ended up suffering from lung failure again on the course of the mountain. When I got back to the States about a week and a half later, not only was I in lung failure, but they told me I was in kidney failure for the second time. Now, that was really hard to go through because I thought that my kidneys were doing well. But now that I'm in kidney failure again, and that was 2 years ago, coming up this August. Since then, I've been on dialysis, but home hemodialysis this time. If you guys are familiar with it, that is an option that I can do dialysis from the comfort of my own home with my partner that's being trained in it. We learned how to do sticking. We learned how to pretty much operate the machine. I do it at home. And because of my condition, I'm doing dialysis 6 days a week for 4 hours a day. Now, With that being done and said, even though my kidneys have already failed and I'm doing dialysis, there's still so many ways that I have to learn to prioritize everything that has to do with kidney health. Because once I do get this transplant, I need to avoid any type of situation that could put me in, kidney failure again. And so the importance basically of kidney health is you need to add it in basically into your self-care when it comes to not just the kidneys, but your lupus and yourself. When it comes to the kidneys, low sodium diet, helps with that to not to alleviate blood pressure. You also need to do certain ways to extend as much mindfulness as you can to keep going. Having lupus is already a burden, that you have within yourself, and it's an everyday fight and an everyday struggle. Now you have lupus, or excuse me, now you have kidney failure on top of that. That is something again that now you have to keep yourself and very mindful to where you have to keep going and see what it's going to take. Doctor care, self-care, medication, and living life the best that you can, and not letting the disease debilitate your life or put you in a direction that's going to put you in depression or anything else like that. Now, lupus nephritis, unfortunately, is something that you already have your kidneys involved with. So, whatever it takes, again, to just maintain your kidney by continuing self-care and, doing what you got to do best to maintain is how you want to keep on going. Inspiration comes from within yourself, telling yourself that whatever you're going through in life, that tomorrow's going to be a better day and look forward to it as of opposed to what you're dealing with today. Don't be fearful for the fact that you're in kidney failure, have kidney disease, or have kidney problems coming up. Embrace the fact that this could be the case and do your research and educate yourself on what is it going to take to go through it and live through it. We always pray and have faith that we don't, ask God to get rid of certain things. We just ask for the strength to go through it. I've asked for the strength since day one, and he's given it to me. And I'm using that strength to empower others when it comes to lupus and kidney failure, lupus nephritis, and any type of health or autoimmune condition that debilitates you. So keep it strong, keep going. If there's anything that I can do from my standpoint to help you or to encourage you to share my journey with you, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you, Danny. I appreciate this opportunity of telling my story and how I can empower and help.
Emmitt, thank you very much. Your story, the way you present your story, wasn't just moving and informative, it is inspirational. So thank you very much. We're going to now open the Q&A portion of the event. We're going to begin with questions that were asked during the presentation. But again, as I said earlier, feel free to ask additional questions while we're talking. And we'll get through as many questions as we can live. But we'll email you answers to any questions that we're not able to get to today. So let me start with a few. There's a few questions out there now. So in no particular order, Emmitt, how do I know if I've got protein in my urine?
There's a lot of ways that the doctors can give you advice on how to do that. And what it is ultimately what it comes down to is a urine test with your doctor. You want to start with that. Some of the things to watch out for is that when urinating, when you have extreme bubbles in your urine, that tells you that you have something going on with that. But then still, that's still going to lead to consulting with your doctor and your doctor more likely giving you a urine test from there.
Great, great, thank you. There's a follow-up question to that. What would be the next step that doctor would do if they find or suspect protein in urine?
There's a lot of things that can cause that as opposed to just say not outside of lupus, and it would be their job and their specialty to find out where it leads to. You may have to, this may be through your primary doctor, but then the doctors will decide and see that if it's something that you need to go to a specialist. but it's kind of, again, being with them. Being proactive with your doctor as well is a strong part of it too. You want to follow up if you don't hear from them on what's going on over a period of time, especially if it's something that's causing you symptoms that you're feeling.
Thank you. In the same vein, does protein or does having protein in my urine necessarily mean I'm going to develop kidney failure?
Not at all. Not at all. It could be something that it could be an instant type of, scenario to where something that you could have done or even eaten for a period of time. And sometimes that can just be reduced by changing the habit of possibly would have caused you to cause that.
Great. The last question that's come in thus far, it could be answered with a one word or a lot. So I'll kind of leave it to your discretion. Do I need to change my diet at all to keep my kidneys healthy?
It would be best. I would say that it would be best.
So another question has come in. How have you changed your eating habits? You personally, have you changed your eating habits since dealing with kidney failure prior to your second failure?
There's a lot of things that I have done, but at the same time, I love life. And I am not going to restrict myself 100%, say from a little bit of extra protein here and there. If I want to go out on a beautiful dinner and have a steak, one steak is not going to really do anything bad to me. And I'm going to thank God that I'm able to eat this steak and enjoy life as it is, but be very mindful about that. If I had a steak today, I'm going to be free from protein and meats, red meats for the next couple weeks, just to be on the safe side. But that's me personally. That's me personally. I would recommend that when you suspect anything like having problems with kidneys, that a dietitian, a nutritionist can help you in ways of showing you renal recipes that will, specifically for that, and that will be safe for you as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm.
So before we move on, is there any other questions for Emmitt? Yes. Just as I asked. So this is hi Emmitt, it's Jenna from Oakland. You're looking great. Are you able to exercise?
Yes and no. When it depending on the definition of exercise. In my condition now with dialysis, the fatigue and the weakness I have, I'm doing a lot of cardio walking. Walking is exercise. I used to lift weights, but I just don't have the strength at all right now in my current condition. But getting outside, walking, just, enjoying life and enjoying the air on a beautiful day, that is my form of exercise because it's movement. Movement is better than no movement when depending on your condition. If you feel that you can move and get out and run, a run doesn't have to be 10 miles. A run could be right around the block and back, and knowing that you did that, make your goal tomorrow a block and a half. That's the type of exercise that you mentally want to give yourself, to where testing your body and not overdoing it is some type of physical movement to where it's overall just going to help you. And no matter what condition you're in, there is something that can be done.
Great advice to all of us, actually.
Thank you.
So before we let Emmitt go, any final questions? Okay. Emmitt, thank you. Thank you so much for your time and your insights for us. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. And I appreciate everything.
We're gonna take a 3-minute break and then bring Satara online for our second presentation. So please grab a cup of water and be back in about 3 minutes. Thank you.